Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 contain a remarkable yet challenging prophecy found in the Bible. These chapters foretell a northern invasion of Israel that will come suddenly and cover the land like a storm. Despite Israel's apparent doom, God will intervene and protect them from this attack. In Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 8 to 16, God speaks about the invasion that will occur in the latter years when the people of Israel have been gathered from various nations and are dwelling safely in the land. The invader, referred to as Gog, will come with a great army and evil intentions. They will target the unwalled villages and peaceful people of Israel to plunder and take great spoils. However, God instructs Ezekiel to prophesy against Gog, informing him that when Israel is dwelling safely, he will come from the far north with a vast army. This invasion will serve as a means for the nations to recognize and acknowledge God's power and holiness. It is believed by some that this prophecy could be fulfilled during the first part of the tribulation period. According to this interpretation, the Antichrist will establish a peace deal with Israel, allowing them to rebuild their temple and live securely in their land. It is at this time that the invasion by Gog and his coalition will take place. God had previously promised to revive Israel from their state of exile and bring them back as a nation, as symbolized in Ezekiel's vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. Through this prophecy, God continues to convey his hope and future plans for the people of Israel. In Ezekiel chapter 39, the focus is on the annihilation of Gog and his coalition. God declares that he is against Gog, the leader of Magog, and will bring them against the mountains of Israel. God will disarm Gog and cause his troops to fall upon the mountains of Israel. God will provide a feast for the birds and beasts of the field with the flesh of the defeated armies. Following this defeat, God will make his holy name known among the nations, and Israel will recognize him as the God. The nations will understand that Israel went into captivity due to their iniquity and unfaithfulness. However, God will have mercy on Israel and bring them back to their land, no longer hiding his face from them. He will pour out his Spirit on the house of Israel, and they will live in the knowledge that he is their Lord. These prophecies convey God's ultimate plan for Israel. While Israel's clock seemed to have stopped after rejecting and crucifying Jesus Christ, the Bible reveals that their salvation is not lost. The times of the Gentiles are being fulfilled, but in the end, Israel will be saved. God will pour out his Spirit on them and reset their clock, leading to their restoration and a recognition of his glory among the nations. Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 contain a remarkable prophecy that is both awe-inspiring and challenging to comprehend. These chapters foretell a future invasion of Israel from the north, described as coming like a storm and covering the land like a cloud. Israel appears to be doomed, but God intervenes to protect them. In Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 8 to 16, God speaks to the leader of the invasion, Gog, saying that after many days, in the latter years, Gog will come to the land of Israel, which had long been desolate but is now inhabited by the gathered people who dwell safely. Gog and his troops, along with many other nations, will ascend upon Israel like a storm and target the unwalled villages of peaceful and defenseless people. Their intention is to plunder and take great spoil. However, God challenges Gog, asking if he will not recognize that the people of Israel dwell safely under his protection. God will make himself known to the nations through this intervention. The prophecy of Gog's invasion is believed by some to be fulfilled in the first part of the tribulation period. During this time, the Antichrist is said to sign a 7-year peace deal with Israel, allowing them to rebuild their temple and live securely in their land. It is at this time that the invasion of Gog and his coalition takes place. These chapters in Ezekiel connect to earlier prophecies, such as the vision of the Valley of Dry Bones in Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 1 to 11. In that vision, God assures the exiled Israelites, who had lost hope, that he will revive them as a nation. The hope and future that God has for the children of Israel is conveyed in this continuation of the prophecy. God's intention, as revealed in Ezekiel chapter 38, is to make himself known to the nations through the invasion of Gog and his coalition. This act of divine intervention will demonstrate God's power and righteousness. The invasion will be met with natural calamities and confusion, causing the invaders to turn against each other. God will use this opportunity to bring judgment upon them, raining down pestilence, bloodshed, flooding rain, hailstones, fire, and brimstone. In Ezekiel chapter 39, God specifically addresses Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. He declares that he will turn Gog around and lead him against the mountains of Israel. Gog and his troops will be defeated, and their weapons will be useless. God will give the birds of prey and beasts of the field the flesh of the fallen invaders to devour. Gog's homeland of Magog will also be destroyed by fire. Following the defeat of the invading forces, Israel will spend 7 years using the weapons of their enemies as fuel, indicating a time of security and peace. They will not need to gather wood for fires during this period. Israel will also bury the bodies of the invaders in a designated valley, known as the Valley of Hamon-Gog, for 7 months. Special teams will be appointed to search for and bury any remaining bodies to cleanse the land. After the 7 months of burial, the people of Israel will set apart men whose task is to constantly search the land and bury any remaining bones they find, ensuring that the land is cleansed from the defilement caused by the invading armies. The name of the city where they will perform this duty is called Hamonah, meaning multitude. The prophet Ezekiel emphasizes the magnitude of the victory and the display of God's power in these events. The nations will witness the destruction of Gog and his coalition and recognize that it was God who intervened on behalf of Israel. This divine intervention will reveal God's holiness, righteousness, and sovereignty to the nations, leaving no doubt about his existence and his concern for his people. Furthermore, this victory will have a profound impact on the people of Israel. They will know that it was God who saved them from destruction and brought judgment upon their enemies. This revelation will lead to a spiritual awakening among the Israelites, and they will acknowledge and seek to know the Lord their God. God promises to pour out His Spirit on the house of Israel and restore them to their land. The people will recognize that God's hand is at work in their lives and that He is the one true God. The events described in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 are part of God's plan to bring about His ultimate purposes for Israel and the nations. While the exact timing and details of these prophecies are still a subject of interpretation and debate among scholars, the overarching message is clear: God will protect His people, defeat their enemies, and reveal His power and glory to the world. These prophecies also point to the future return of Jesus Christ and the establishment of His kingdom on earth. The defeat of Gog and his coalition can be seen as a foreshadowing of the final victory over evil and the establishment of God's reign of peace and justice. In summary, the prophecy in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 foretells a future invasion of Israel by Gog and his allies. However, God intervenes and defeats the invading forces, revealing His power and holiness to the nations. This victory leads to a spiritual awakening among the Israelites and sets the stage for the future fulfillment of God's purposes in the establishment of His kingdom.